All right, today we are diving into some pretty alarming claims from a recent report. It details a potential military showdown between the US and Iran, and we're going to unpack exactly what this source alleges is happening step by step. So, the whole story really kicks off with a very strange, very specific piece of military hardware. The source claims that a specialized US aircraft nicknamed a nuke sniffer is making its way toward the region. So, what on earth is this plane, and why is its presence being flagged as a sign that something major is about to happen? This aircraft is really the first major piece of the puzzle. According to this report, its unique capabilities are absolutely central to a much larger and, frankly, much more concerning plan. Okay, so the main thing to get your head around is this plane's job. It's not a bomber, it's not a fighter jet. As that nickname, nuke sniffer, implies, its entire purpose is to literally analyze the air for tiny traces of radioactive material. Think of it less like a weapon and more like a detective. And this right here is the crucial point the source is making. The plane's alleged mission isn't just routine surveillance, it's post-attack verification. The whole idea is that after a strike on a nuclear facility, you'd expect a radioactive leak, right? Well, this plane would then be sent in to confirm, yep, the target was hit, it's destroyed. Now, to really hammer home how serious this claim is, the source points out that this is supposedly only the third time in 40 years that this kind of asset has been used in this specific way. That rarity is being presented as a massive red flag that something highly unusual is in the works. So, how does one single plane fit into a bigger picture? Well, according to the report, the nuke sniffer is just one small part of a much more audacious, multi-stage operation. So here it is, the core claim broken down into 3 steps. Step 1, a military strike targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Step 2, send in the nuke sniffer to make absolutely sure all the nuclear material is gone. And then, step 3, a special forces operation aimed directly at Iran's top leadership. And the source gets incredibly specific here, adding some very vivid details. It claims that final step would be an Abbottabad-style raid, which is a very clear reference to the operation against Osama bin Laden. It alleges that elite units, think Navy SEALs and Delta Force, would be sent in to neutralize Iran's supreme leader. Okay, so you have to be wondering, why? Why would a plan this risky, with such high stakes, even be on the table? Well, the report offers 2 main reasons from the US perspective. The alleged justifications are really twofold. First, there's a preventative motive, this fear that Iran is right on the edge of conducting its very first nuclear weapons test. And second, there's that verification angle we talked about, making sure that any strike completely eliminates Iran's nuclear material, leaving absolutely no doubt. You know, an operation of this magnitude would obviously provoke a massive, massive response. So the source goes on to paint a pretty grim picture of how Iran would allegedly hit back. This quote from the source material really captures the expected intensity of the response. The claim is that Iran's retaliation would be total and widespread. They would hit any and all available targets, no hesitation. And the source gets very specific about what that could look like. It lists a huge array of potential targets. We're talking U.S. military bases all across the Middle East, strategic assets as far away as Diego Garcia and Guam. It even predicts attacks on U.S. aircraft carriers at sea using unconventional tactics like boat and drone swarms. But look, this potential conflict wouldn't just be happening in a vacuum. The source claims several other global powers are already deeply involved, turning this into a very complex international chessboard. The report describes a diplomatic effort that seems almost designed to fail. On one side, it claims Turkey has proposed a kind of de-escalation deal where Iran would let U.S. oil companies operate in the country. But on the other side, it alleges the U.S. is demanding that Iran recognize Israel and completely dismantle its entire missile program. I mean, that is a massive, massive gap to bridge. And of course, the stakes are incredibly high for Iran's allies. The source claims China's already giving Iran technical and intelligence support on U.S. military movements. For Russia, the situation is apparently even more critical. It's said to be heavily reliant on Iranian drones for its war in Ukraine, and a strike on Iran's drone factories could cripple that supply line. So where does this all lead? The source pulls all these different threads together for its final, and I'd say most unsettling assessment. The report's final conclusion
is that this wouldn't be some kind of accident or miscalculation. The core claim is that the U.S. is consciously risking a catastrophic multi-front war. The idea that the entire Middle East could be engulfed in flames is presented as a calculated risk.
And that brings us to the final provocative question posed by the source material. It suggests these events might not be immediate, but that they're building towards a flashpoint. And it asks if 2026 could be the year it all boils over. That is a pretty sobering thought to end on, based on the claims we've just walked through.